The massive demographic replacement that is happening all over the world is rarely discussed by the media. So let's discuss it. This is Blinded by Logic. So we've talked at length about why global birth rates are falling off a cliff. We're talking about massive changes to our communities, our economies, and what our country might look like. So what's driving this? Well, a big part is that people in many countries are living longer. The global average life expectancy shot up from 51 in 1960 to over 73 today. That's good news, but it means societies are aging fast, especially when fewer babies are being born. The most obvious thing we're seeing here is something that many call the great aging, especially in developed countries. Fewer babies, longer lives, it means where support is needed for more and more retired people. Japan is ground zero here. Their median age is over 48 and 30% of their population is over 65. Italy has a median age of 47 with over 24% of their population over 65. And much of Europe is in the same boat with aging populations. The crazy part is that Japan's GDP per capita was 25% higher back in 1995, and Italy's economy has also fallen in the past 15 years. This could be a sign of things to come, where aging economies face decade-long recessions, while the older population is getting older and people feel too uncertain about the future to have kids. And this creates a huge problem when fewer working-age people are supporting more and more retired seniors. Think about healthcare. Healthcare costs for someone over 65 are about 3 to 5 times higher than for young people. So who pays? Increasingly, it's a smaller and smaller group of young workers, and that can definitely lead to some serious tension between generations. And looking ahead, the UN believes that the number of people 65 or older will more than double to 1.6 billion people by 2050. Now, this aging isn't happening everywhere at the same speed. Almost all developed countries are seeing falling birth rates, well below the 2.1 replacement level. Europe, North America, and East Asia are especially low, and these numbers are still dropping with no end in sight. But then look at Africa, a huge continent with a population of about 1.5 billion people, and their average birth rate is around 4.1. And yeah, it's coming down too, where sub-Saharan Africa went from a birth rate of 6.7 kids in 1980 to about 4.6 in 2023. But that's still more than double the global average. And here's the key difference. Africa's birth rate is 2 to 3 times higher than basically all of the developed world. The UN is now pretty much saying all future global population growth will happen in Africa. Their population could double to nearly 3 billion by 2050. So think about that. About 1 in 3 people born in 2050 will be born in Africa. That's a massive shift in who and where people are, while Asia may still be home to more than half of the world's population then. So then what happens when developed countries have shrinking workforces and a ton of older people needing support, and Africa has a young population and Asia will still have a massive population? You guessed it, immigration. Many developed countries have already tried to grow their population with immigrants from Africa and Asia. Meanwhile, the US and Canada are already seeing immigration driving almost all of their population growth. They need people for construction, tech, and healthcare, where immigrants often make up 25% or more of the workforce, sometimes over 50% in caregiving roles, and immigrants will be increasingly relied upon as populations age. So what's the result here? Societies in North America and Europe are going to get way more diverse very fast. But let's be honest, this is not always a smooth ride. When large numbers of people move away from sub-Saharan Africa into Western countries, it can cause a lot of social friction. Polls show deep divisions over immigration throughout all of Europe. Meanwhile, people worry about their national identity, about pressure on public services, and about jobs. This is going to fuel nativist political movements, and we're seeing their support grow, often hitting 15 to 25% or more in many European countries. This tension, the economic need for immigrants versus the social and political resistance to them, is becoming a massive debate worldwide. Yet without immigrants, the EU's working age population could shrink by 57 million by 2050, while the population will be older than it's ever been, needing more support than they've ever needed. That's an economic disaster waiting to happen. And it's not just about international borders either. Within countries, people are on the move as national populations shrink or stagnate and jobs cluster in big cities. Rural areas and small towns are emptying out. Japan is a prime example where they have over 8 million vacant homes. And you might see news articles about $1 homes in the US or in Italy. That's because a lot of those areas now lack jobs and people are moving away from areas that lack opportunity. Young people leave, taking talent and their energy with them. With declining birth rates all over the world, it means smaller families, meaning fewer siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. Those big family support networks, they're shrinking, they're disappearing, and more people are living alone. In the EU, about 1/3 of all households are now single-person households. That's up over 5% in just the last decade. Now, that's partly older folks, but that's also young people delaying marriage, where the average age for first marriage is now up 3 to 5 years since the 90s, often over 30 in many European countries. And there's a huge cultural shift towards focusing more on individual goals rather than traditional family values. And this feeds back into lower birth rates. As of 2024, about 40 countries were already seeing their populations decline, and that number is rising each year. Economically, it's tough to keep growing with fewer workers. Look at Japan since the early 1990s. Super low interest rates, but they have declining GDP, and they have massive government debt that is now over 250% of their GDP. That could be the future for other aging countries. The pressure to pay for pensions means retirement ages are already going up, often towards age 67 or higher. And healthcare, it will force some hard choices. Either raise taxes on the wealthy, have service cuts, raise the retirement age, you could go into massive debt, or you increase immigration to build up the tax and worker base. And the global fight for young, skilled, talented immigrants is going to become very competitive, as high-skilled migration has already jumped up over 130% since 1990, and that's only going to accelerate. So the next 10 to 20 years, expect much older populations in many rich countries. Societies becoming way more diverse because of immigration, especially from Africa, and there will be ongoing and escalating political fights all over the world about immigration and what it means for national identity and economies struggling to adjust. And we'll see a lot more ghost towns and an intense global scramble for talented workers. But all that said, it's not all doom and gloom. Technology, AI, robotics, automation, it could boost productivity and help with elder care. McKinsey projects that automation could lead to up to 1.4 percentage points in global productivity growth each year. But the big challenge is making sure these new tools benefit everyone, not just those who create the robots and sell them. To navigate this world, we'll need stronger social safety nets, investments in education, smart ways to manage diversity and help people integrate, and a real effort to make sure technology improves lives for everyone. It's about being resilient and connected, as much of the developed world will go through a demographic makeover, unlike anything we have ever seen before. So, how do you think the rapidly aging population worldwide and the rise of widespread immigration is going to play out? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Next time, we'll dive deeper into how AI and lower fertility rates will change the future of work. This has been Blinded by Logic. Thanks for watching.